Hello there, and thank you for joining us on the Land Conversation. On today's episode, we're talking about the Sectional Properties Act. Now, the Sectional Properties Act applies to persons who own an office space, a townhouse, or an apartment. Do you have a sectional title? What is a sectional title? And how and why is this important? Well, for more on this, I'm joined by Abigail Kimanzi. She's an advocate of the High Court. Thank you for speaking to us, Abigail. Let's begin by what is a sectional property title and how does it impact real estate in Kenya?
Sectional Properties Act is an act which basically pushes towards giving autonomy to unit owners, owners of offices, owners of apartments, and owners of townhouses, so that they can have autonomy in the ownership of the property. And they do not need a consent from a third party, like a management company. They would basically be able to deal with the property just like any other person who owns property, away from the leasehold or leases regime which previously existed.
In December 2020, a new law on sectional title deeds was enacted in Kenya. The law was passed with the purpose of enabling individuals who owned sectional properties such as apartments to get their individual titles.
Under the Sectional Properties Act, you'll have the autonomy to deal with the property as you deem fit. You will not need to seek a consent from any third party, either to sell your property, to charge your property, or to alienate any interest in that property. But previously, during the lease regime, you would need the consent of a management company, meaning that you really do not have any autonomy with respect to your proprietary interest in that property. Okay. So sectional property comes to cement the autonomy of the proprietary interest. Mm-hmm. It's ownership, basically it's ownership of land.
Before the law was put in place, a developer would have the mother title and give a long-term lease to occupants. So on this piece of land, there is a mother title. And when you talk about the mother title and you talk about the sectional title, walk us through the difference between the two and how to work around getting your own sectional title.
The mother title basically is the title document on which the proprietary interest rests with respect to the place on which the building has been erected. So assuming you've erected apartments, where those apartments sit, that is what we call the mother title. And it has its own title, which now we are referring as the title document to the mother title. Mm-hmm. So the owners of those units would be given a lease, which would translate to a title document. But the purpose of the Sectional Properties Act is to move away from the issuance of leases as a title document and bring in an aspect of the title document under the Sectional Properties Act, which will have an autonomy on the proprietorship, and it will also dictate the shares held by the owners in relation to the common area. Mm-hmm. Yes.
The Sectional Properties Act denies property developers leeway to use title deeds for land where apartments stand as security for loans and other financing facilities. The Sectional Properties Act only provides for the developers to proportionately own common places like parking lots and staircases.
There's also the issue of a common area. It would not be identified with a degree of clarity that this is the area that this person owns. It would just be, I'm an owner of a certain unit and I can enjoy the pavements, I can enjoy the driveways, I can enjoy the garden if there's any garden, and I can enjoy the recreation centers without stating with a degree of particularity or degree of certainty what is the percentage that you own with respect to the common areas. Yes.
Right. What are some of the challenges that property owners under the sectional title undergo, and how can this be addressed?
There have been challenges whereby you get that a developer or a management company is not cooperating with respect to either conversion of the mother title to conform to the current regime, or the property, all the leases or all the units with respect to the apartments have not been sold out, meaning that the reversionary interest has not been transferred to the management company, and thus the management company cannot automatically act to invoke the conversion of the property. That becomes a challenge because the conversion or the issuance of the sectional titles calls for georeferencing. Georeferencing basically entails a surveyor coming in to prepare the sectional plan, which will ultimately translate to the respective sectional units. And for the surveyor to do the georeferencing, it means that the cooperation of the homeowners or the unit owners, the developer, if there's the property is charged, the chargee to that property, basically cooperating in ensuring that ultimately the title document, the mother title, is presented to the registrar. So assuming a developer comes and says that they are not interested, or some owners of the property say that they are not interested, or the financier says, due to the modalities surrounding the issue of whether the title and their interest as charges would be properly secured, they are not interested in releasing the mother title, then that would become a challenge.
As a result of this challenge, individuals who want to buy or sell flats through bank financing are unable to do so.
In the previous regime, you would not own the unit alone. Fine, you'd be given a title document, but there would be a management company that sort of overshadows your rights. Because if I want to charge my property, I cannot go to the bank and get a loan without having to go back to the management company.
What if one has already invested in a property and they do not have this sectional title? How do they go about the conversion, and is that possible?
I will divide it in two phases. First, for a project whereby all the units have been sold out and you only need to do conversion of the property, and also for a new project. I'll start with the one whereby leases have already been issued to the sellers, to the purchasers, and each unit owner has their own lease document as a title document. In that regard, we'd go back and need to confirm whether the mother title has been gazetted for conversion, assuming the property is within Nairobi. If it has been gazetted for conversion, you'll need to convert the mother title so that you get the new number for, let's say, Nairobi block. These are under peculiar identifier. Once you're done with the conversion formalities, which take place on Ardhi Sasa, now you invoke the services of a surveyor to prepare the sectional plan, which is the principal document for issuance of sectional titles. The surveyor will need the floor plans, the building plans when in preparing their sectional plan. They will later on transmit the same to Survey of Kenya for approval, and also to the respective counties for issuance of the consents or approvals from the counties. Upon peruse of the documents by the survey department and it's confirmed that the documents are in order, then the survey department will proceed to forward those documents, including the sealed RIM, that is the registry index map, the sectional plan, the approved sectional plan, and the other documents, the other plans, to the ministry, a relevant ministry, that is the Ministry of Lands. Once the documents are presented to the registrar will peruse the same and proceed to transmit the documents to the land administrator. The work of the land administrator would be to apportion. If the mother title was subject to any rent, then the land administrator would apportion the rent payable by the respective unit owners and transmit the results back to the land registrar. The land registrar would then register the sectional plan. The beauty of this is that upon registration of the sectional plan, the sectional titles can now be processed for each unit. Assuming the units are 100 or 58, then the registrar would produce 58 titles or 100 titles and proceed to close the mother title. If, for example, there was any unit which had been encumbered by pursuant to a charge or any other encumbrance, then all interest that related to the previous either lease document, they would be transferred now to the issued sectional title, and they can thereafter ultimately be transmitted to their respective owners.
And what advice do you have for individuals who want to invest in sectional properties? What should they bear in mind?
My first advice would, of course, be due diligence, which is common for any purchase. But most people shy away from conducting due diligence because of the cost implication involved. But I would say the cost implication is worth it because it ensures that you get not only a clean title, but also it confirms whether the land indeed is free of any encumbrance. If it's a sectional unit that you're purchasing, whether the measurements are conforming to what the seller is telling you, assuming they're telling you it's 58 square feet and it's not. If you invoke the services of a surveyor who is part of the due diligence team, then they would be able to confirm the area and stuff like that. The second advice would be for the investors or the purchasers not to shy away from. I know it's a new practice, but the Act ensures that it cushions the purchasers by providing for the, I will repeat and I will emphasize on this, the autonomy of the proprietary interest.
That's it on the Land Conversation today. Catch us next week for yet another episode. Goodbye.